I just want to thank everyone for joining our webinar today. I'm going to ask, we are recording this and I will be putting it on YouTube later. I do want to ask that all questions be held until the end of the presentation. That way your video doesn't end up on the recording. And I will be answering questions at the end. So at the end, I will stop the recording and answer your questions. And please stay muted to reduce any background noise. And then at the end, it's a free-for-all. So, okay, here we go. Maybe we don't. Oh no, don't tell me the PowerPoint isn't going to advance. There we go. Okay. Okay. So the California Regional Center System has started phasing in a new program that will be an option to every regional center consumer over the age of 3 starting in June 2021. And today we're going to talk about the self-determination program, how it is different than how your child or adult is currently receiving services, and how it works, and some things that are specific to the self-determination program, and what you need to do to prepare. So self-determination isn't thinking outside of the box. It's just throwing the whole box away. Self-determination is a voluntary regional center program that provides participants with an individual budget that they can then use to purchase the services and supports they need to implement their person-centered plan and their individual program plan. There's 5 principles of self-determination: freedom, authority, support, responsibility, and confirmation. Freedom to exercise the same rights as all citizens. People with disabilities, with assistance when necessary, will establish where they want to live, with whom they want to live with, how their time will be occupied, and who is going to support them. Authority is the control over whatever sum of money is needed for their support, including the reprioritizing of the dollars when necessary. And this is accomplished through the development of an individual budget that moves with the program, with the person. And I'm going to go into detail on all these things throughout the presentation. Support is the organization of these resources as determined by the person with a disability, or for minors, their parents. And this means that individuals do not receive supervision and staffing. Rather, folks with disabilities can seek some companionship for support and contract for any number of tasks they may need support for. And responsibility. That is the wise use of public dollars. Dollars are to be used as an investment in a person's life and not handled as resources to purchase services. So the responsibility includes the ordinary obligations of any American citizen and allows individuals to contribute to their communities in meaningful ways. And the confirmation of the critical role of self-determination participants and their families in making decisions in their own services and designing and operating the system that they rely on. So each participant will have an individual budget to help buy their services that they need to achieve their goals. And there are many people who can work with your child or adult to achieve these goals in life. In self-determination, you aren't limited to just services that are vendored through the regional center. So here's a little history. The self-determination program was added to the Lanterman Act in 2013. The Lanterman Act is the law in California that addresses the services for people with disabilities and how they're to be determined. In October 2018, a lottery was held to select the first 2,500 participants to phase in the self-determination program. And that would allow the regional centers to learn how to administrate this new program. Well, sadly, many participants dropped out, mostly because regional center really didn't know how to support people initially. And so people said, we'll just wait until you guys have your act together. And so they dropped out. And a second lottery of people was selected in 2019. But in June 2021, every regional center consumer that's over the age of 3 will have access to the self-determination program. And I'm going to explain during this presentation what you can do to prepare as well. So the traditional model that we currently have includes a regional center service coordinator coming to your house, or through Zoom right now because of COVID. And then you describe the service that your child or adult needs. And the service coordinator will pick 3 or 4 approved vendors for that service. So you call the vendors and you talk to them and you make a choice. You settle for what they offer, or you find out that all 4 vendors have a waiting list and they can't do what your child or adult needs them to do. Or they may have staffing issues that are way beyond your control, as the person with piercings and tattoos shows up at your door smelling like marijuana to provide respite. So the self-determination model, the difference is it gives your child and adult the flexibility, the freedom, and the options to individualize for the person. It starts with a person-centered plan where the person's hopes and dreams are captured. And person-centered planning is a way to assist people to help them describe what will bring purpose and meaning to their life. Then the supports needed to achieve those hopes and dreams are identified. And then the service coordinator develops an IPP based on the person-centered plan. An individual budget is agreed on, and that's what's going to fund the services and supports that best meets the person's needs. And then there's a financial management services provider that will help manage the money and pays any employees or services that are needed. So person-centered planning is at the center of the self-determination program. So think about what your child or adult really likes to do and what's important to them. Because some services that you can include in self-determination would be hiring someone to help them go camping, somebody to help them start a business, write a business plan, or help with marketing a micro enterprise. Art classes. You could hire someone to help them make friends. There's personal assistance, cooking classes, piano lessons, really anything the person would like to learn. And you can buy services in the community, not just through regional center vendors. You can hire staff directly that work for the person, not an agency. And the list of options is very long. As long as it's not segregated in a place where it's all people with disabilities and it's in the community, and it achieves a goal that's identified in the person-centered plan, it can be funded. It's all about choice, and it's not about what's available, it's about what's possible. So the self-determination program revolves around the person-centered plan and the set of values that are recognized by the federal government that must be followed in the self-determination program includes presuming competence. Each person, no matter what their ability level, can direct their person-centered plan, no matter how significantly they're impacted by their disability. Everyone can express what they like and don't like, whether it's screaming, hitting, saying yes or no, nodding yes or no. They can tell you what they like and don't like. We focus on strengths, which is pretty much different than the typical IPP that focuses on deficits. We focus on what the person does well, not what they can't do. And we believe behavior is communication. So even if a person can't communicate by speaking, they have a right to make choices, whether it's by gesturing, smiling, typing, using pictures, or even getting angry. Every person can have a meaningful life in the community, and every person has the right to live and participate in their community and not just be in programs for only people with disabilities. And we have to take into account cultural differences of persons' family, religious, ethnic, and racial cultures are taken into account. So funding is available through the self-determination program for participants to hire an independent facilitator to assist them and their family with the initial person-centered plan and IPP process. And what an independent facilitator can do is advocate and negotiate at the IPPs with the service providers If the participant elects to not use an independent facilitator, they may use their service coordinator to help lead their person-centered plan. Now, other states' service models that self-determination does work. If you're involved with people in other states or you're on some Facebook pages with people from other states, you might hear it called the waiver or self-directed services. You know, it's called different things across the country. And this is a federal program, federal Medicaid program. So the best practices are already out there. We just have to implement them. A good person-centered plan must start with pre-planning. So we have to find out what the person wants to discuss and does not want to discuss. We never focus on behaviors at a person-centered plan, but we may check out what those behaviors are telling us. What is needed for the client to fully participate? Do they need breaks? Do they have to eat frequently? Do they need assistive technology or photos to make selections? Do they need a special seating arrangement? Of course, right now with COVID, we're doing it all over Zoom. So any seating arrangement is through the computer. Do they need, we'll develop a personal history, a life story, and a description that includes their hopes, dreams, their fears, and their personal preferences. And the person will identify who they want to attend their person-centered plan to create the circle of support to see who is with them and who knows them the best and will support them in their plan. And finally, where do they want to meet? Well, this is if we were meeting in person. Some people would prefer a restaurant or, their home, maybe even the place where they work. It just depends. And they also get to select the time for the meeting. For example, my son, his name is Sean. If we said we were having his person-centered plan at 8 in the morning, he wouldn't show up. He's still in bed. But if it's lunchtime and we feed him, oh, he'll be there. He's on board with that. So, and sometimes a neutral place is better than at home, because if the person decides they want to go into their bedroom and watch YouTube videos instead, home might not be the best place. So it's all individualized based on the individual's needs and preferences. So at the beginning of a person-centered plan event, and we call it a person-centered plan party, we don't want to use meeting. Meetings are never fun. So we're going to have a party. It's person-centered. So we lay the rules out. All comments must be made to the participant, not about them. We don't talk about them like they're not in the room. This whole thing revolves around them. And each person, we start with each person introducing themselves, telling how they know the participant, and something they like and admire about them. And everybody will listen to the clients or to the participants' dreams and work with them to help make a plan to help them reach their goals. And we're going to focus on the person's strengths, hopes, and wishes, not their weaknesses, nightmares, and the preferences of others. And then we brainstorm with a circle of support. And a lot of ideas come to light that are going to help the client take steps to reach their goals. When we did my son Sean's, it came out that he wanted to work with kids. So we all brainstormed, where are kids? They're not all just at preschool. There's a lot of places kids go. And so we made a list where people are, that you don't have to have a college degree. And then finally, we create an action plan that includes a timeline identifying the steps that need to be completed to achieve those goals. And we need to have some steps that start right away. We don't want to have all the steps, 6 months from now. We want to keep the person motivated to achieve their goals. And finally, the action plan is completed. I think I just said that. So, and before the meeting ends, everyone reviews the steps and they take responsibility for helping the participant achieve their goals. So then the independent facilitator creates a written report that includes the supports that each goal will need in order for the participant to have success and to have a fulfilling life in the community. Each support includes a budget item. Now, some things don't cost anything. For example, if someone wants to learn to do laundry and mom says, I'll teach you to do laundry, then there's no cost to that. But on the other hand, my mentor has a client who wrote a book and had a topic that he wanted to do public speaking about. So she put in his budget someone to type up the book. I mean, when I say he wrote a book, he hand wrote a book. So she had somebody in his budget to type up the book and edit it. She had self-publishing costs, a publicist to help him get speaking engagements, a website developer, and a speechwriter. So help your kids and adults dream big. It could happen. So the independent facilitator can then attend the IPP meeting and advocate for services that are being added to the budget. A well-written person-centered plan provides opportunities to seek employment and work in competitive integrated settings. It gives the opportunity to engage in community life, control personal resources, and receive services in the community to the same degree of access as individuals without disabilities. It includes individually identifying goals and preferences related to relationships, community participation, employment, income, and savings, healthcare, wellness, education, and lots of things. And it also includes risk factors and plans to minimize them. So this is a photo of the person-centered plan we did for my son, Sean, and he gave his permission for me to share this with you. This is in the hallway of his apartment, and it fills the entire hallway, and he won't let me take it down. But he did tell me the other day, Mom, I need a new one of these. So he's due to have a new person-centered plan this year. Just so you know, he is not in self-determination yet, but we did this a couple of years ago because we needed a plan while he's living in his own apartment. And you'll see all the areas that are included. I'm going to show close-ups of each section of the poster. So the meeting started, or I'm sorry, the party started with all participants telling Sean what they liked and admired about him, which really built up his esteem and helped him become fully engaged. We talked about where he wants to live. His current situation is below, and he was living in his own apartment at the time. And then his dreams were above that. So, it's pretty unlikely he's not going to have an oceanfront property. That's been one of my dreams too. But, we don't judge or limit the goals and dreams. We all have dreams that are never going to come to fruition, but that doesn't mean we stop dreaming. And then his connection section, who he wanted to spend time with. Well, he has an acting class at our Down Syndrome Association, wanted to date ladies, and he has the long-term goal of getting married. And he wanted to host a Bible study. Well, that still hasn't happened, but he's hosting poker nights. So we need to work on the Bible study goal. I should say he was hosting poker nights until COVID started. And health and wellness, well, he was going to 24-hour fitness before COVID-19. But the great thing is when he gets into self-determination, it'll actually pay for his monthly membership fee at 24-hour fitness, and he can hire a personal trainer with that money as well. And WWE, well, it doesn't really fit in that section, but he kept saying it in every section. So it was the one white space on the poster. So that's where it went. That's kind of his obsession. And then below that is work. At the time he was working at Home Depot, but he really didn't like it. They had him with carts in the parking lot, and he's Mr. Social Butterfly. So he quit, and he ended up getting at the time he was volunteering in our church's Sunday school, and he just really wanted to work with kids. So he ended up getting a job at a trampoline park, refereeing dodgeball and helping with kids' birthday parties. And now he also, now when COVID stops, he'll start back up again, volunteering at Pretend City, which is a local children's museum. So, so we were able to make his dream of working with kids happen without him having an early childhood education certificate. So this is the action item section, and that's the goals, and they are the focus of the person-centered plan. So his goals included hosting dinner parties. Well, that doesn't cost Regional Center anything. And he's had some potlucks, and his roommate and I have helped support that. He had Open and Able account. That also doesn't cost Regional Center anything. One of the professionals in the room thought he needed to go to community college and get her certificate in early childhood education. Well, we put it on the goals, but it did not make it into the final person-centered plan because Sean was done with school. He is not going to school. And he wanted to schedule time to go to the gym instead of just, whenever it happened. So I helped him put that on his calendar. And then his job coach helped him update his resume, and his supported living agency and ABA supports helped him create a chore chart. So now I want to tell you about one of my clients who is also being funded in self-determination. Her mother, Jan, is here with us today. And full consent from Jan and her mother, and her mother's her conservator, to share her story. And I want to introduce you to Jan. Her official title is Sarah's mom. Are you unmuted, Jan?
I think I am. Is it working?
It is.
Okay. For some reason, there's a little thing in the corner that says too quiet. Well, that's usually not my problem. But okay. At least it's not loud here. So I'm Sarah's mom. And when we were first selected in the lottery for self-determination, I went to a lot of different things and I couldn't figure out how to do it. And we were pretty overwhelmed. I'd leave and go, you've got to be kidding. I don't even know where to start. And there was no way we could have gone through this process without an independent facilitator. So I saw some info about that, and that's when I connected. Yep.
Yeah, and that's how we met each other. And so this is a photo of Sarah's person-centered plan. And the meeting started with everybody telling Sarah what they liked and admired about her.
And this really built Sarah up and helped her stay engaged for the whole meeting. This was also encouraging to me and emotional to hear what everyone thinks about her. It helped us focus on the positives and her strengths. Where the regional centers is always focused on deficits and challenges and things like that.
So Sarah wanted to go and do fun things with her friends. So her person-centered planning team came up with some ideas of things she would try and things that she currently likes to do.
And we can't wait for the pandemic to end so she can do more of these things. It's a great list.
Yeah, so part of the person-centered plan is identifying the needed supports to help Sarah achieve her goals as well. And we also talked about work.
And at the time, we had tried a 4-to-1 day program that was basically killing time around town. Sarah is 20 years old, and the group they had put her with were men in their 30s and older. So it wasn't even a fun social activity for her. Most days she didn't even want to go. Plus she had a job at Dickey's Barbecue for the past 3 years, and they wouldn't provide a job coach for her at her actual job. So my son and I had to do the support at her job, and we weren't able to do it consistently. But more than that, she really didn't want mom there. Mom, go sit in the corner, So her dream job is working with dogs. So we brainstormed places that she could work or volunteer with dogs. And we came up with a business.
So we were able to prove many unmet needs to increase Sarah's annual budget to be able to support the goals that were developed during her person-centered plan. She started off with 24 hours a month worth of respite, her 4-to-1 day program, and a conference that her mother had attended in the past 12 months. And that was the beginning point of her budget. After requesting additional services in the traditional system, which included a 1-to-1 job coach, ABA services, and independent living services, we then took that budget and transferred it to self-determination services that included a 1-to-1 job coach, a personal assistant, ABA, independent living services, a tandem bicycle, a safety course, a sex education course, cooking classes, swimming lessons, and a personal trainer.
So we hired a past ABA service provider that we had built a relationship with to be her job coach for 32 hours a week. She's also providing 8 additional hours of ABA services. Sarah likes to sleep late, and the job coach arrives around 10 and works till 5. Thanks to her job coach, Sarah is now working at Dickey's consistently. In this picture, her job coach is helping her get her food handler's license, and that has allowed her to have more duties at Dickey's. And I think it makes the owner feel like she's following all the guidelines a little bit more. We also hired a personal assistant who is accompanying Sarah to her cooking class, shopping, swimming lessons, and one day we'll take her to do fun things in the community. She reminded me yesterday, we need to go bowling, Mom, when it opens up. I'm like, okay. She's also started her own business making dog treats, Pup Bites by Sarah, and her job coach is helping with discovering recipes and testing different treats. As soon as her website is up, we'll be selling these online, and her job coach will be driving her to the post office to ship them. Once things are safer, and she'll be able to have a booth at the local farmers market or at different events in the area.
Sarah is living a self-determined life. So the great thing, it is entering the self-determination program. The very first person-centered plan is funded by the regional center, and they have allotted up to $22,500 per person to pay for the initial person-centered plans. Since Sarah entered the program, Jan has taken the same course that I took and has joined me here at Empower Person-Centered Plans as a Chief Dream Facilitator doing person-centered plans. So I'm going to share with you an example of a spending plan that came from Regional Center, and take that with a grain of salt. But so this is what Regional Center had actually trained us when their training program, but we went through a much more in-depth training program than the one that Regional Center provided as well. So here's a goal. I want to be healthy. And to achieve that goal, yoga class, a personal trainer, gym membership, nutrition classes, a nutrition assessment, behavior intervention and counseling. And then the next goal, I want to be successful with my micro business. And that included web design, coaching and support for business and employment, jewelry classes. The next goal, I want to be safe in my community and work. And so coaching on safety in the workplace and the community and for emergencies and everyday safety practices, safety at home. And family, and if you look on the right column, it says who's going to pay for it. So SDP is self-determination program, but safety at home is the family. That doesn't cost Regional Center anything. And then next goal, I want to increase my socialization skills and make friends. So there's a dance class. And then there's other, which is independent facilitator and the FMS. You don't have to have an independent facilitator after you go into self-determination. A parent of an adult can be the independent facilitator and be paid for it. Parents of children or of anyone under 18 can't be paid to be an independent facilitator. And the FMS is the Financial Management Services Agency that actually manages the money. And I'll go into that in a little bit more in a few minutes. So here's the spending plan dollar amounts. As you can see, the community integration supports was $22,265. This is annual. The employment supports was $42.48. Individual training $840. So on and so forth. Basically, let's see. I lost my place in my notes. So let's just go to the bottom line. You have the idea. So the total approved budget was $23,214. So like I said, this is an example from the Regional Center, and it gives some ideas of how creative you can be, but there's a lot more you can do than this. So the individual budget, the way you get that amount of money is it starts with what has actually been spent for your services in the last 12 months. And then any identified needs in the person-centered plan that you don't currently have, they're called unmet needs. And then and it's what you've actually used, not what you've been allotted. So let's say you have 60 hours of respite in a month, but you're only using 20 hours a month of respite, they're only going to put 20 hours a month of respite into the budget. So start using the other 40 hours, use your services. The individual budget can change if your needs change. For example, if you're moving out or if you're leaving a school program and ready for a work program. If you're, and any unmet needs that are identified. You still have to access generic services first. So if you're school age and you need speech therapy, the school's going to have to provide the speech therapy. And those are services that are basically available to anybody. And then IHSS, things like that have to be accessed as well. So the financial management services provider is who handles the money, and they help you stay on track with your budget. The amount they are paid does come out of your budget. You don't get any extra money to pay them. And they do administrate the withholding taxes if you have any employees. So you don't have to do any reporting or anything like that. And this is the only required service in the self-determination program. So once you've been accepted into the self-determination program, for people who were in the lottery, or June 2021 for the rest of us, the steps that you take, you have to attend an orientation meeting. And then you have to hold a person-centered plan. And the person-centered plan can actually be done before the orientation meeting. Then there's an IPP where the person-centered plan is presented. And then the regional center certifies a budget that you agree on. And then you select a financial management services provider, and then your participant is ready to live the dream. So the individual budget, once again, is calculated by adding the amount the regional center spent the prior 12 months. It's increased by any change in circumstances or unmet needs that are identified that need additional services. You can transition back into traditional services at any time. If you go into self-determination and then decide to go back to traditional services, and then you decide you want to go back to self-determination, you do have to wait 12 months before you can go back in. Once you're in self-determination, your services follow you if you switch regional centers. Not if you leave the state, but if you move someplace in California that gives you a new regional center, your plan follows you and it will not change. And you can also change financial management service providers at any time too. Accessibility is being able to get into the building. Diversity is getting invited to the table. Inclusion is having a voice at the table. And belonging is having your voice heard at the table. So Jan and I are available to assist anyone. We will provide a free 1-hour consultation to help you prepare for self-determination. And we are going to start doing person-centered plans in March or April for people that are going to be entering the program in June. And so please send us an email to schedule a time, and we're happy to help you. An email to schedule a time. And I'm going to end the recording now, if I can figure out how. And then I will let you guys ask questions. So let me stop recording. Yes, I figured out how.